still develop throughout the rest of his career. But to be serious about this, maybe that's the formula they've been using. Take one of those guys with those young old records and feed him some fodder while he's developing. I mean, that's almost what it seems. But like I said, Bill, it should be the rankings should have a different merit system. I know that there's very little any fan or anybody could really do to disturb what the sanctioning bodies have as their recognition, their formula, and their payoffs. But I think that it does go a long way as far as seeing a fighter develop through the gauntlet of fights and steadily increase his opposition, and then he moves up the rankings the old-fashioned way. He earns it.
The problem is the rankings are bullshit. But hey, listen, we were having some trouble with YouTube. Apparently, the stream is up and running right now, so we apologize for that. I don't see why I need to apologize for YouTube's problems, but apparently the stream is up and running now. So you guys missed the first portion of the show. So if you're just tuning in on YouTube now, we are going to break down and give you our predictions of the big fights that are scheduled this weekend. I'm picking 3 to do. I'm in the middle of an email from my man Jesse, and we do plan on opening up the phone line. So pretty much that's what you missed in the first segment. Oh, and you missed Sal because Sal wasn't on the show for the first segment either, having some issues all across the world, I guess, today, Sal. We're all stumbling and fumbling and bumbling. But one other, we got 2 more points from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy, did you watch the press conference of Lubin, Hurd, Lara, and Charlo? What do you think of some of their quotes? Somebody mentioned that these fights are like Hagler-Hearns. Totally disagree. None of these have those qualities yet. It makes me laugh. And I know it makes you laugh too, Sal. When they compare any of these fights with the likes of the fights, the big fights from the 80s and previously, because back then the fights had significance. Today, it's such a smokescreen shim-sham. It was the same thing as when they were comparing Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman to Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. I mean, please, you can't compare them. You know what? Charlo does not impress me. Both Charlo brothers have been in with so much smaller guy. I want to see Charlo fight a guy the same size. That's first. As far as Erickson Lubin, Lubin is a good fighter. I got to call his Florida State Golden Gloves final. The thing about him is that he was being moved along perfectly until this fight. Bam, he's in a huge fight all of a sudden. It's going to be a huge fight for him. So I'm not sure. Comparing them to Hagler-Hearns, come on, man. What do you think, Sal?
Bill, like you said, I'm laughing at this. It's like you noted. I only agreed because it was so obvious when we were watching that fight a couple of months ago with Sugar Ray Leonard helping with the commentary. With who was that again? I can't. It's not even a memorable fight. And they were stating, "Hey, Ray, doesn't this remind you of your days with Tommy Hearns?"
I just told you what the fight was. It was the Danny Garcia Keith Thurman fight.
I know, and it was just a joke. And like, how much money did you have to receive, Ray, to say, I see what you mean. Yeah, it does kind of remind me of that. Now, the fights today, the significance of the fights being done on a majority level, it just doesn't mirror the era that you and I often refer back to, because it just was such an act of competition, of blood, sweat, and tears that we witnessed, and it was fighting or fighters doing what they had to do to challenge themselves and to rise to the occasion. And we saw their mettle as a human being, as a warrior, and that's what it was all about. And and they were prepared when they went into the ring of battle. Not like today, some of these guys. So just a different generation, different era. So we'll see how they progress along, what happens. But yeah. Some of these fighters today, it just doesn't compare to what we saw back in the 70s and 80s. I'm sorry.
Jesse goes on to say, Billy, I keep hearing that Mikey's interested in Cotto. and I think the camps are actually talking. I really believe this is a winnable fight for Mikey. Cotto's body is not the same, and Cotto's looking for a paycheck. What fight are you wanting Mikey to take in December? Listen, I love Mikey Garcia. Thanks for all the emails. I love Mikey Garcia, and I don't care who he fights because, especially after the last fight with Adrian Broner, I come to the realization that this guy will beat anybody. I mean, anybody that they put him in that's realistic. There was also rumor about him and Terrence Crawford. I mean, that's a great fight. Cotto's a good fight. Listen, you know what? Mikey Garcia versus anyone is a good fight. I love the kid. I love his approach. What he did with Adrian Broner really proved a lot to me, and I love the guy. So anybody he wants to fight. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to start breaking down the fights, and we'll go from there. We're actually going to open up the phone lines in about 15 minutes. So if you're looking to call us, wait till I say the phone lines are open and give us a call, 845-228-8710. I'm taking a break right now, and we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, I had to bring somebody on that was going to pay attention to what we're doing here. I got Sal doing all kinds of stuff, everything but paying attention to the show. So joining us right now is the boxing expert himself, the infamous Jeremy C.
Wow.
What's up, Jeremy?
I'm the boxing expert now. Great.
Hey, is that? I guess you're not camping anymore, huh? What that's gotta be a green screen behind you, right? I mean that
green screen.
Oh, that's
green
real.
Screen.
You mean that's a real set? What are you in? What are you in fairyland? What kind of set is that, man? Come on, make those drapes look like they're normal, for God's sakes. It looks like it's in a. What is that? One of those Christmas gingerbread houses you live in? That's a gingerbread house.
Have any say in the decorating around here? Come on.
Oh, you better. You better lower your voice
yourself. You know?
Hey, you better lower your voice. You might get in trouble.
I'm home alone, Bill. Don't tell anyone.
Hey, Jeremy. I'm glad you stopped by because your favorite fighter or former fighter was in the news again. Oscar De La Hoya. A lot of people.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah, a lot of people missed the first part of the show. Thanks to YouTube, but thankfully I was able to go up and take. Thankfully I was up to go and repair YouTube's problem because everyone was wondering what I could do to fix it. But what
tools did you use?
Right. The truth of the matter is that he said, and you're going to love this. He said that he could beat Conor McGregor right now in 2 rounds, and he criticized Mayweather for carrying him for 10. What's your thoughts?
Wow, no, I don't think so. I don't think that would happen. I think he, what's he going to bring his cane to the ring? How old is he now?
Or his fishnet.
Easy, go easy.
He's 44.
sorry, Sal.
He's 44. He's just a babe.
He's in his prime.
Yeah.
Second time. Probably.
He's in his prime. Sal
is he going to wear his tights to the ring?
He's going to wear his fishnets, I heard. But Sal says he's in his prime at 44. Yeah. Sal, you missed yesterday's show, Jeremy. We're trying to get Sal a fight with Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke wants to fight again at 64, and Sal's offering himself. He's actually
you calling him out, Sal?
Well,
I'm pulling him out. I tell you, Billy, you make that fight happen. I'll make you my manager.
Actually, Sal is starting to eat because Mickey Rourke is actually a couple pounds heavier, so Sal's got to gain some weight in order to be in the
pounds on.
So interesting fight there. But
Sal, I want to walk you to the ring.
Listen, I will fight Mickey Rourke, and I will spot him 20 pounds. I don't care. No, you got it. I don't care what he comes in at. I'll fight him at any weight.
Yeah, see, once again, Sal forgets that the rules have changed in the sport of boxing. Whether you want to spot him the weight or not, the commissions won't allow it. So
all right, so I'll just wear heavy underwear that day in the weigh-ins. I don't care.
Wait, now I got a question.
So good away.
So since every boxer has a belt, what belt would that be for?
Oh well,
Billy. I'm gonna leave you that. I want a belt.
Is that the pizza belt?
No, the belt that's right behind Sal. Sal was awarded a belt just 2 weeks ago.
Get it?
That's okay, Sal. It's okay. It just let them see from afar. OFA, only from afar.
It looks better from afar.
Yeah, it does look better from afar. But hey, if you want it, actually, Jeremy is working on that whole video as we speak. Perfect timing.
Right.
And he's got that all on film so we could watch you get belted, so to speak. Because I'm sure you reviewed that already, right, Jer?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through it already.
Yeah, I know. He did. He's working on that diligently right now, Sal.
Yeah, Bill, I work 22 hours a day for you.
I know you do.
I got nothing else going on,
I know you do. I know you do. But, hey, there's actually some there was an email earlier that asked, what is your favorite, and a couple came to mind, but it's hard to think, especially in today's sport, of how many world champions there are, and we talk about the plethora of belts, and every fight is for a world title. But what are, I'm throwing you both under the bus because between the two of you, you might come up with one. But what's your favorite fight? Oh, Jeremy's online right now. What's your favorite fight that you recall that was not for a world title?
Oh, that's a good question. I got so many in mind, but Sal, you go first.
Yeah, I knew that he was going to say that. And Sal's always like, oh, geez, why couldn't I keep sipping my coffee on that one?
I'm going to be gargling with that stuff.
I threw a couple out there because it's hard to think. At least one of the Vasquez Marquez fights had to be for no title. So, and they were all of them were great. Believe it or not, two of the Ali Norton, all three of the Ali Norton fights were great fights. Two of them were not for world titles. They were for regional title, but not for world titles. So that's another one. So I mean, those two popped into my head just to give you guys.
I agree with all those.
Yeah. See. Oh, you're. What about you, Sal? How's your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts are right in line with with you, Bear.
I mean, did you bring up the Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns in 1981? Was that title or not, Bill? I don't remember.
Of course, it was a title. Please,
oh, it was okay. My bad.
Yeah. You better add some more words to your search, fellas. But
oh man, how about let's see, Hagler against Vito Antifermo. Those were both title fights, I think, and they were one's a draw, right? No, two.
That's a tough question because everybody has belts.
That was the whole point. That's the funny part of the question, that we complain about how many belts there are, and they give out belts like participation trophies now. And to stop to think, the other fight that came to mind, even though it ended tragically, was the Mago Abdulzamov fight. His last fight, which put him in a coma and ended his career, was a fantastic fight.
Not for him.
Not for him, but during the fight, and that was not for a world title either. So I have asked the viewers and listeners, drop us an email. What was your favorite? And Dan Henderson, who just put an article up on the website, really wrote the email. So what was your favorite non-title fight? So interesting question.
I could see a future one.
What? Yeah. Does it have anything to do with you?
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey
the Rooney Rourke.
Yeah, everyone wants to see that fight. It's in huge demand. It's
trending on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
Hey,
I got
McGregor Mayweather started out.
We got these big fights this weekend, and I want to break down the first one that I'm going to do right now, and then get your guys' thoughts, because if you listen to my breakdowns, you'll probably have some thoughts and predictions on them. So here goes. David Benavidez against Ronald Gurville. It's for a vacant title. It's for the vacant WBC super middleweight title. Now, the World Boxing Super Series also kicks off this week, and it is kicking off in the cruiserweight division, but they also are doing for the super middleweight. This was one of the fighters that could have been in it, but this was probably one of the only legit guys that said, well, I had a prior engagement, and that is fighting for the vacant title for the WBC belt, David Benavidez. He's only 20 years old, 11 years younger than his opponent, Ronald Gurville. He's ranked, and this cracks me up, he's ranked number 16 in the world by the computer in the super middleweights. And, oh, by the way, Ronald Gurville, his opponent, is ranked number 20 in the world at super middleweight. So, of course, ranked number 16 and number 20, respectively, that puts them both in line for a world title shot, because they're both fighting for a vacant title, which I find kind of funny. But and nonetheless, youth versus age, when you look at the two records of both of these guys, they fought similar opposition. Not that tough. I mean, Ronald Gurville has been in there with some tough guys, but not super tough, not A-class fighters. His record is 18 wins, 1 loss, in which he lost by a decision. And of his 18 wins, he's got 14 of them by knockout. He is from Romania, but he's fought most of his fights here in the U.S., specifically in Vegas, where he now resides. David Benavidez is a phenom. He's a young fighter. He seems to be getting better and better and better. People have been critical of his rise to the top. He has fought some named opponents. One in particular is his last fight, Porky Medina. He stopped him in 8 rounds, which I thought was his best fight of his career. But he's also got wins over Francie Natou, who was a tough fighter. He was undefeated when he fought him out of Canada. And then he's got some fights against guys whose records looked good, but maybe they weren't, like Kevin Cobbs out of Vermont, Dennis Dugan, Sharif Magajanov was a good win. So, I mean, David Benavidez, that's my Porky Pig impression. But David Benavidez has gotten better and better and has fought, decent opposition. I think this is an easy fight for Benavidez. I think he's going to win this fight and win it convincingly. I'm picking David Benavidez. First, I'll go to you, Jeremy. Who do you like in this fight? Because I know you've studied it extensively.
I agree with you. Gravill's going down. It's just going to happen. It's a no-brainer.
And Sal, I know you've studied equally as hard. As a matter of fact, you guys crammed together. Who are you picking in this fight, Sal?
I see clearly we're going to see Benavidez. He's going to be dominant. And, I think he'll win big.
Well, the good thing is, my man Kendall Holt, former world champion, is in the Facebook room right now, and he's reminding us that Hearns Leonard, the rematch wasn't for a title. I was right. I didn't remember that. I knew one
of those wasn't for a title.
You know what? I guess Jeremy really showed us all, and we had to have former world champion Kendall Holt straighten us out on that one. So
thank you, Kendall. I appreciate it. The check's in the mail.
I appreciate that, Kendall, and you should come on over to the YouTube channel now that they got it working and check out the whole shebang there. But hey, Jeremy, I wanted to ask you a question. You were kind enough to forward me the text the other day with the Facebook remembering and it pops up. We did have a lot of fun. Speaking of Oscar De La Hoya, we did have a lot of fun. But you know what? That was Jeremy's first foray into really his Columbo-esque divulging into the news. And Jeremy, after really going through that and trying to determine whether those photos were real or not, you came up with the conclusion that they certainly, what were they?
They were real, 100%.
100%.
100%. There's no question.
They were not.
Those are his legs. That's his butt.
Oh my God!
You missed it. Well, no, Sal, you missed it. Jeremy, go ahead, Jeremy. Tell Sal the story before we, have to kick you to the curb.
Which part of it?
Tell him all. Tell him the whole.
Announced to the world that the pictures were real, and then Billy got in a little trouble for that.
Well,
have you had anyone on from his promotion since?
They have never. We weren't
still banned.
Not only haven't had anybody from Oscar De La Hoya's team, but they have never even approved a credential for us since then. Any Golden Boy promotion, and we have Jeremy to thank for that because
what happened?
That's why I'm the infamous Jeremy C.
Listen,
I make things happen, Bill.
What happened?
Good and bad, but I make things happen.
Jeremy, tell me what you did.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I just remember that the pictures looked pretty real. I analyzed them with my Photoshop skills, and I said these are real. They turned out not being real, but I don't really back down very often, Sal. I'm not a man who admits when I'm wrong.
Wait a minute. Who said they turned out to be not to be real? It all happened with a binge, apparently, a cocaine binge. Even though Jeremy was kind enough, even though Jeremy was kind enough to tell the world that De La Hoya was hooked on heroin, but besides that, it was he was with somebody.
This was 2007. That's how long ago this was. That's how long Bill's been banned.
He's been.
Oops.
He was in a hotel or something, if I recall correctly, and was getting it on with a woman of the night.
De La Hoya. You don't remember this, Sal?
And he posed in fishnet stockings and stuff. There, look, he's showing the photos right now. That's Oscar De La Hoya posing in fishnet stockings with a drink in hand, and he had some Coke on the table. And everybody was trying to determine if it was real or not. And he says it wasn't. Jeremy said it was, and then the next thing you know, we were banned from Golden Boy Promotion. So we have Jeremy to thank for all of that, Sal.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome, Sal.
What's the verdict? What happened? Was it actually a real photo? In your opinion, Jeremy, was it a real photo?
100%.
Yeah, Jeremy.
Look, you know what? You analyze a Photoshop, and there's certain things you could look for, and if it's not real, then whoever did that was so good that they deserve, big fat checks. I hope they're in graphic design somewhere making lots of money.
Hey, the only thing that could have been photoshopped on those photos were actually
maybe the hat.
The hat,
maybe
exactly. I was just going to say the hat, maybe.
Guys,
look
at that.
And
wow.
maybe the
look at that. Where's the neckline of the Photoshop? There isn't one. Sorry, Oscar, but you look gorgeous.
The hat and the wig, maybe, but the rest of it, I don't know.
What an ugly girl! Oscar.
I don't know. But
you were an ugly girl.
He clearly
I have no part of this, by the way.
Was not having a good night. But anyway, hey Jeremy, I was glad you stopped by. I was glad you stopped by.
You.
And
hey, look,
now it's time to leave.
I saw you having problems, Bill. I hate to hear you're so mad. I know how much you control YouTube. You work at Google and all that. So I just wanted to make sure you were okay. So I figured I'd bring on a couple laughs for you.
You know what the best thing is? Like me to know the links to the other ways you can watch the show off the top of my head, so I could just type them into the chat rooms and stuff.
There you go.
That's always good too. So but anyway, hey, we lost viewers because of the problems that people were having with their stream. Their internet service caused us to lose viewers, and
that makes a lot of sense.
I haven't slept since. I really haven't. I haven't had a good night sleep since, and it bothers me, and it's almost I might even have to take a break to clear out the sniffles.
Just to cry a little?
Yeah, just and I'm sure you could follow the trail of tears from downstate New York up to upstate New York.
Billy calls me every night, Jeremy, we lost another one because the stream didn't buffer fast enough for them, and that's all my fault.
Well, it's the same thing. Sal's already getting calls about them threatening. Now, Sal's in South Georgia, right? Almost as far south in Georgia as you can go. And they're already warning Sal that he's going to be losing internet, phone, and electricity because of the storm. Come on, Sal, you're on air. The camera's on you. You don't have to raise your hand.
We had a mandatory. Now, this storm is not. I don't think it's going to hit Florida, the southernmost tip of Florida. I could be wrong. I'm not a meteorologist or a meteorite, but I think it might be hitting south tip of Florida Sunday morning, and it's supposed to come up and hit southeast Georgia, where I am, by Monday morning. Well, they issued a statewide, then also countywide evacuation of every community east of 95, which I'm as far east as you can go, because then I'm on an island. So they issued an evacuation for Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And I'll tell you what, it's a mandatory evacuation of our island. And then, Kayla and I had some family business we had to take care of for her. And we were out last night. We didn't get home till about 3:30. And we hear that they reissued the evacuation for today, Friday morning at 8 a.m. So everybody is supposed to get off this island. But the damn storm's not even going to be here till Monday. I just don't see it. So
I think they do that so that you leave, and then you don't have that huge traffic jam with everybody.
Wait a minute. Have you seen I-95? Have you seen I-95 right now? It's maybe that's why. Yeah. But hey, we gotta give a shout out to a first timer in our chat room with the ID Fat Apples. Loved the question, and he just posed a good one as well. He said, "My fight would be a heavyweight fight between Derek Chisora and Dillian White." He said it was a slobber knocker. So I was asking him where he is, but now I know he's got to be from England, because that's a slobber knocker is an English phrase. And because he's talking about Dillian White and Derek Chisora, we got another viewer and listener from England. I tell you, man, if we had a good producer, we would definitely get to do our show in England, Sal.
I would love that, man. I'll tell you, I think we should do a European tour. Start with England, work our way over to Italy, and I tell you, we can have a real nice tour. You and I, we'll go on a road. Maybe we can take Jared. I was just going to say we can.
He's looking at you. He's saying you and I. I'm ready to say, what about me? I mean, come on,
really?
But anyway, hey Jared, thanks for swinging by. And
yeah, no problem. Anytime.
We will be looking forward to the next time, and maybe I could give you some answers to questions that I'll ask you. All right?
Just slide them across the table.
Yeah, I will. But Jeremy, have a good day, my man.
You too. Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Take care.
That's
Jeremy.
the infamous Jeremy C. signing off, and we had a good time with him as usual. Listen, we're going to open up the phone lines for you guys right after the next break, and when we take a caller, unfortunately for Sal, we'll have to disconnect with Sal, but that's just the way it is. But another fight I want to talk about right now real quick is the a cruiserweight fight that's being held this weekend to kick off the World Boxing Super Series, and it's a really, really good one. Alexander Usyk, the current WBO World Cruiserweight Champion, is taking on Marco Captain Huck, who for a long time was considered the Cruiserweight champion. He was a former Cruiserweight champ for a while, and he also challenged for the World Heavyweight title at one point against Alexander Povetkin. And I actually thought he could have. I actually thought he would have won that fight, but and he should have on the cards. But this is a great matchup, and it puts two cruiserweights that are up there in the rankings. Now, Usyk is ranked number 1, and rightfully so. This was a guy that our very own Dax Khan said he feels is the best cruiserweight in the world today. He's 30 years old. He's 6'3". He is a southpaw, which gives fighters trouble, obviously. So he's 1 inch taller than Captain Huck, and his arm reach at 78 is also 1 inch longer. And like I said, he's ranked number 1 by the computer, and he's 2 years younger than Captain Huck. Now, as far as Captain Huck's concerned, this is a guy who fought everybody in the cruiserweight division, and up until his dethroning, which took place against Krzysztof Glowaski, which took place in 2015 in New Jersey. He got stopped in an exciting fight in the 11th round. Many people thought Glowaski should have been stopped himself. They should have waved off that fight. Marco Huck had him in all kinds of trouble, only to get knocked out himself in the 11th of a scheduled 12-round fight. Now, he did get back up on his horse and came back with 2 wins against Ola Afolobi and Dimitro Kushner before he stepped in the ring for another title shot against Marius Briedis, who is also in the a world champion in the cruiserweight division, and he's also in the World Boxing Super Series. Another reason why I love this series so much and why I'm so disappointed in the American fighters who are not involved in this. But when I look at Usyk against Huck, Sal, as much as I was a huge fan of Captain Huck, but his negative is that he does take shots. He does have a suspect chin when he gets nailed, and he does seem to run out of gas. And he also fights in spurts. I think those 3 things are really going to hurt him against Usyk. Usyk is a seek and destroyer type fighter. Although he's only got 12 professional fights under his belt, 12 wins with 10 knockouts, this guy doesn't mess around. And he's going in with Huck, who's got 45 professional fights, 40 wins, 27 by knockout, 4 losses, in which he was stopped twice, and a draw. My official pick, as much as it bothers me because I am a Marco Captain Huck fan, and one of the reasons I love doing this show, Sal, is because I'm a fan first. But in this fight, I'm picking Usyk. Me along with Dax Khan. I do feel that Usyk is the best cruiserweight in the world today. What's your thoughts, my man?
See Usyk beating Huck, and I think Huck's better days are behind him. I nothing taken away. I just think that, as you were suggesting, Usyk is a seek and destroy kind of fighter, and Huck has had his little different variables as far as where he fights in intervals, where he might run out of gas, and I just think that you have a highly motivated, exciting fighter in Usyk coming up, and he's going to look at Huck as a big block to knock over for him to keep moving in the right direction.
So you're.
I see him stop and Huck.
Yeah.
The Huck. You know what? The Huck stops here.
Yeah. Stick to the pizzas. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, phone lines are open, 845-228-8710. We want to hear from you. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Phone line is open, 845-228-8710. You know, the funny thing is, I'm wondering if we're having a problem with our phone line. I saw several people call in. I don't know if it was all because they all called in at once, and I went to hang up on Sal, and they disappeared out of the queue. So I don't know, man. We're having all kinds of electronic issues.
I'm having trouble all over the place. It looks like either my computer has a virus or just internet things going on. I can't even interact now in the chat room. It froze up, and there's something asking me, am I here? I hit but it doesn't work.
Well, here, we're going to kick Sal to the curb for a minute here, and we got a caller coming in right now. You're live on the air. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Billy C? It's your buddy Marcus from Tucson.
Hey, Marcus, what's up, man? How you making out today?
It's a beautiful day, man. How you guys doing over there?
Okay, all right. See, Sal can't really. We can't hear Sal right now. He could probably hear us, but we can't hear him. But what's your comment, question, or concern, my man?
Hey, man, I just wanted to ask you a question. What, in your history of being a boxing trainer and in your history of boxing, what is probably the youngest age or the oldest age. I'm sorry, the oldest age a fighter has picked up boxing. You know, most fighters pick it up in their younger years. They've been doing it their whole life. What's the most latest year that you've heard of a fighter picking it up and being fairly successful with it?
First of all, I was never a trainer, so I mean, never claimed to be. But I've been involved in the business for a long time now. Are you referring to a fighter that picks up the sport late and becomes professional, or you just referring to somebody that just picks up the sport and gets into it and maybe fights in tournaments or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe not professional, like making money and stuff like that. Just maybe, fight in tournaments, just like you said.
Well, you know what? I've heard they have that new amateur series called White Collar. It's geared for, businessmen that use, or women that use boxing or had used boxing as fitness. And then they wanted to be competitive. And like the Golden Gloves has a cutoff with age and so on and so forth. So they actually opened it up. Some places will call it a senior division. So really, you can fight well into your 40s and 50s, in that amateur rank. Now, as far as a pro, I do know of some fighters that started boxing on an amateur level in their 30s and then eventually turned pro. And then actually, fought, until they were 40. So, you know what? It's all based on how much you put into it and what opportunities you can get. I mean, there is one thing to consider, and that's called muscle memory. It's the same reason why, somebody that might be a NFL or just a football player as a kid, and they play football, all the way up through their 20s or whatever, and then maybe they suffer an injury and they love sports and they say, well, geez, let me get into something else, and they start boxing. Now, they might look like, physically they can handle it, but the muscle memory's not there. And that's why when you see fighters that have started as kids, 8, 9 years old, and then they have a successful career, it's because they've been working on those types of exercises, and their muscle builds up with muscle memory, and they can be much more successful. But if it's something that you're interested in doing, man, go to the gym, start working out, and see if you can compete, spar with people, and let the chips fall as they will, my man.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Billy.
All right, man. Well, listen, we appreciate you calling. Who do you like this weekend? Is Chocolatito going to regain his title or what?
Oh, I hope so, man. He's got my family's maiden name, so I'm a Gonzalez too, man. I'm hoping he brings it down.
Well, I tell you, I thought, the first time I watched that fight, I thought he lost, and I watched it again, and I thought he squeaked out a win, and I think what was really instrumental in him not getting the nod on the scorecards was the fact that he was bleeding like a stuck pig. I think that it clearly influenced the judges, and I hope the same thing doesn't happen because Rungvisal is a guy that does lead with his head. So I'm hoping that this fight isn't a bloody mess, at least from an unintentional headbutt.
Right.
So I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Gonzalez.
Right. Yeah.
Marcus, thanks for calling, my man.
Hey, you guys have a good one.
All right,
tell Sal I said it too.
All right, he's probably listening. We just can't see or listen to him, so we'll get him right back now. But thanks, my man.
Okay.
That's a listener from Facebook, our simulcast from Facebook, which is pretty cool. So I'm glad that that happened. But we're gonna get back to Sal here in a minute. As far as I know, I'm gonna get back to Sal. I'm going to see if I can't handle this right now. But let's see. How do we do this? Are you there, Sal?
I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here.
Good. We just don't have your video. So
come on, where'd it go? I'm right here. I see myself.
Well, we're not seeing you.
I see me. I see me. I see my camera on. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. What's going on?
I'm not seeing you. Seeing you. Sorry about that, but
okay.
We will.
I'd rather be heard than not seen.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe you know what? Maybe I'll get a new connection on you. That's what I'll end up doing. I will get Sal back here, and we'll get him back the way he's supposed to be. But yeah, phone line was open 845-228-8710. Glad to have the caller call in from Facebook simulcast. Oh, there you are. Jeez.
Oh, whoa! I see myself.
God, I'm glad.
Really scared.
You know. Now, let me ask you a question, because something with our system, we can't bring in a caller at the same time unless they're using a different service. But were you able to hear him?
No, I didn't hear anything. I just heard silence, actually. The sound of silence. And so I figured you took the call, you kicked me to the curb, and you guys entertained whatever topic and whatever he called in about, and I'm back.
Oh, so you didn't hear all the crap he was talking about you?
No. Was he saying a lot about me?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But
I was talking about me.
What I should have done is I should have kicked you to the curb, but apparently you got put on hold. But anyway, let's talk.
That was the thing.
Let's talk about the main fight this weekend. Chocolatito, Roman Gonzalez is getting a rematch with Srisaket Sor Rungvisal, and that's the last time. His real name. His last name is Wangek, so I will just call him Wangek. But Wangek, the world super flyweight champion, he is ranked at number 1 in the world at super flyweight. He is a southpaw, 5'3". This guy is the bigger fighter. I mean, he's been fighting in this division since he turned pro. He's 30 years old, same age as Chocolatito. We saw in the last fight that he was extremely tough, did kind of lead with his head a little bit, took everything that Gonzalez gave him and gave back just as much. He's got a record of 43 wins, 39 coming by knockout. He does have 4 losses in which he was stopped twice and 1 draw, 182 rounds as a professional with an 81% knockout ratio. His style, as we witnessed in his last fight, because quite honestly, I hadn't seen him fight prior to his fight with Gonzalez. He was an impressive fighter. He was extremely strong. He was a guy that seemed to bully Gonzalez, and it made me wonder if Gonzalez had moved up one too many weight classes, despite them being so close. Weight classes that are so close in weight. Roman Gonzalez had moved up several weight classes since he turned pro. But what I liked about Wangek is he was relentless. Yes, they clashed heads several times, enough to make Chocolatito look like he was dipped in cherries. He was covered in blood, and I think that the judges kind of leaned towards him because of that. But I will say this. When I watched that fight the first time, I thought Wangek beat him. I thought that Chocolatito was getting beat from post to post. And I said that on this show. I said I thought that Gonzalez was beat from ring post to ring post. But when I watched it again, I actually watched this fight 3 more times. And all 3 times, without any sound or anything like that, and I tried to really block out the blood, because I when you see a fighter that's just covered in blood and it's rolling down their face, it's really hard to not kind of lean towards the other guy, regardless of how it happened. But when I watched the fight the additional times, I saw more of the head clashes, and I was able to concentrate on the punches that were thrown by Wangek, and some of them were not really landing flush. I thought that Gonzalez did a good job at deflecting some of them, but as long as they get through a defense and connect, whether they're connecting hard or not, they should be counted as a point, being scored. When I looked at Gonzalez in this fight, he may have clearly been just moved up too much, outsized. He was a former world minimum or strawweight champion, a junior flyweight, a flyweight, and ultimately became the super flyweight champ. and lost his title for his first loss of his career. He's got a record of 46 wins, 38 by knockout, one loss his last fight, 229 rounds as a pro, and he too has an 81% knockout ratio. I see this fight being a very competitive fight again. The one thing I liked about Chocolatito in Roman Gonzalez, I like the fact that he never gives up. He took a hellacious beating, really, in terms of physical, but he kept coming back. Maybe too much. At this weight class, these guys are in wars. All of their fights are in wars, and both of these guys are no spring chickens for this kind of a weight class at 30 years old. So I kind of see a similar fight, but this time I think Gonzalez is going to come out on top. And what bothers me about this fight, let me rephrase that. What bothers me about the first fight is I really felt that Roman Gonzalez would have been the guy to surpass the 50-0, even though it's not relative to anything other than a heavyweight division. But I really thought Gonzalez would have been a fighter that would have amassed maybe even close to 60 wins before hanging him up. And I feel that it was kind of an injustice for him. Not that they should have just given him the win. And it was a close fight. So I'm not going to be Teddy Atlas here and scream robbery, because it certainly wasn't a robbery. But I do think Gonzalez won the fight. And and honestly, in the rematch, I'm picking Gonzalez in another close fight. And this time, I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzalez wins by knockout. Sal, what's your thoughts on the fight?
Well, it's so funny because I remember we watched this fight, and when I first clicked it on, if I didn't know which fighter was who, I would have thought that I was watching Gonzalez being dominant and knocking his opponent from post to post. And because, as you said, it was a good fight. It was a war. And I watched the fight 2 times, and I thought, Gonzalez did keep it closer, and it could have gone either way. But it was definitely an exciting fight, definitely a good fight, and definitely a fight that, some of these guys, they move up maybe 1 or 2 weight classes too many. And I think that is the case with Pacquiao. And I think that may be the case with Gonzalez, but we'll have to see. I think he definitely will be better prepared for this fight. He'll know these fighters know each other, and that's always something going in for a rematch. Let's see how it pans out. If Gonzalez could rise to the occasion and knows what he's going to have to counter and knows what he's going to have to offset and work on. He can learn a lot from the last fight and apply what he's learned and be dominant. But other than that, I mean, this guy was just a strong guy and just knocked him from post to post. And I think it may be history repeating itself. And I'm going to say Gonzalez is going to lose. I'm going to disagree. I think Gonzalez is going to lose again.
The thing is that the problem that we have with these lower weight classes, and I say, flyweight and lower, is the fact that we don't get to see a lot of them, and, these fights, these guys are forced to fight each other because there's not many of them in that weight class to begin with. So they're fighting tough fights. So when you see these guys rise to the top in these smaller weight classes, they're pretty damn good fighters. And that's the case with both of these guys. And, when they take those kinds of fights and you don't see the devastating knockouts in these smaller divisions that you do as the fighters get bigger in the larger divisions, physically bigger. But what you have to keep in mind is that, number one, these guys, the hand speed is hard to follow, number one, and number two, the sustained beatings that they take by them trying to knock each other out and trying to be exciting, because really in these weight classes you're not going to see a guy that's thinking safety first. They just can't do it, and the reason why is a safety first fighter, let's face it, is a boring fighter, and boring fighters don't sell tickets. Now, Floyd Mayweather is a boring fighter. he was able to harness it and buck the trend. So he's an exception to the rule. But in most cases, boring fighters don't sell tickets. And I think Rigondeaux is a great fighter, but he's a good example of one. That very hard to get this guy because his skill set is so high. It makes the fights themselves boring. So these smaller weight classes want to prove that they're not boring fighters. So the action is always on a very high level. And when you think about the fact that both these guys are 30 years old and that they've been in these wars, 40-something wars each, close to 50 fights each that they had, and every one from the beginning of their careers all the way up to when they faced each other were knockout, drag-out fights. The long-term effects and from the sustained beatings have to be showing up here, Sal, and they have to be slowing down. So we might not even see such a brutal fight tomorrow night as we saw the first time.
It's a good point, Bill. Very good point. But it may not be as brutal, but I think it'll be still good, still exciting, and I don't know. I wish both fighters the best of luck and hope nobody gets harmed permanently.
Yeah, well, that's always the case with every fight. We hope that fighters come out unscathed, even though we're watching for our amusement, which is kind of barbaric to even say, but it is what it is. But
it is what it is.
Yep, I'm picking Chocolatito to avenge the loss in another exciting fight that may even end up with a trilogy, So, listen, I've been in the fight game for well over 30 years, 35 now. And one thing that I always did with my fighters, especially if they were, had a title, whether it be a world title or even just a regional title, I always included a rematch clause in the contracts. And,
smart, very smart.
And win, lose, or draw, it's more or less, invoked if you lose. But I would think, just like Chocolatito had a rematch clause the first time around, I'm sure that Wangek is a guy that is going to put a rematch clause in his. So we very well may see a trilogy. Sal, what's your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. If we can see the only way we're going to see a trilogy is if Gonzalez does win. And like I said, I think it's going to be a pretty good bite to chew. And I think Gonzalez is capable of doing so. I think that he can keep this fight close and just maybe slip a few punches and land a few more. But if it turns out to be a similar show as the first fight was, we're not going to see a trilogy fight. If he loses this fight, that's it.
Oh no! If Gonzalez loses the fight, that's it. But if he wins, exactly. We very well may see a trilogy. But
which would be good.
Next week kicks off Canelo Alvarez and Triple G's fight week, and it can't come quicker. It's unfortunate that this weekend coming up, we have so many good fights on tap, and I'll be honest with you, Sal. I'm just looking past. I'm looking past everything. I can't wait until Triple G and Canelo get in the ring. I just, I know that this fight is going to live up to the hype. I really do. And, a lot of times they don't. You get these hyped fights, you get these fights that have been in demand, and they don't live up to the hype. I honestly believe that Triple G Canelo will live up to the hype and very well may be one of those classic fights that will go down in history. And another thing, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a two-fight clause in this contract as well, because the money that's going to be made is going to be outrageous. Remember, this fight was sold out in, I think, 24 hours or 48 at least. This is the same venue that McGregor and Mayweather could not sell out. So I'm psyched, and I think the true boxing fan is psyched, and I even think that this fight is attracting casual fans. What do you think?
Oh, I think you're right across the board, and I'll tell you, I think it would be smart for each fighter to have in that contract, which is already signed, sealed, and delivered. But I would be disappointed if they did not have in the contract a rematch clause, no matter what happens and who wins. I think it would be inevitable because I expect this to be a great fight. I love how both of these fighters right now are challenging themselves, and this could be a real defining moment for each of these fighters. And that's, well, it is. I mean, this is probably the biggest fight of each one of their careers.
Well, I mean, both of them.
Do you agree?
Well, both of them have been in some big fights, and
big fights.
what? But this is clearly. I mean, Canelo. Listen, Canelo is a big name, but the one knock on Triple G is that he hasn't fought anybody. Well, I got 9 fights that I picked out on his resume that I feel were all against quality opposition. Beginning in 2011 against Kasim Uma. Now, Kasim Uma clearly was not the same Kasim Uma that was a world champion when he fought Triple G. It was 27-7-1, but still a big fight that deserves credit. So was the Greg Proska fight up at Turning Stone. He stopped him in 5. He fought Gabe Rosado. No one loves Gabe Rosado more than me. I mean, yes, this was a guy that is just more of a tough guy, but that to me that was impressive win. Matthew Macklin, impressive win. Curtis Stevens, actually, there's one I missed. Curtis Stevens. So that brings him to 10 fights that I think was against tough opposition. Curtis Stevens was one. Daniel Geale was another. Martin Murray was another, David Lemieux, and then his last 2 fights, Kell Brook and Daniel Jacobs. And by the way, sprinkle in Willie Monroe and Martin Murray. I already said Martin Murray, but Marco Antonio Rubio, all good fighters too. So, I mean, you could actually make an argument that he fought 12 top fighters. And when I look through Saul Canelo Alvarez's record, I got 11. And he too has fought some, hugely recognized names going all the way back to 2010 against Lovemore Nadeau, Shane Mosley, Austin Trout, Mayweather, in which he lost, but still he went the distance. Alfredo Angulo, Ursulandi Lara, James Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan, Liam Smith, Chavez Jr. I mean, all big names. I mean, this is the fight, Sal. This is the kind of fight that we want. I mean, the only people that don't give either of these guys credit are Floyd Mayweather diehard fans that think Floyd Mayweather is the greatest of all time, and he's not even close. But let's be real. You look at the statistics. You look at the fights themselves. You look at the 2 fighters. And it would be hard for somebody to convince me that Triple G Canelo is not a huge fight against 2 guys that are in the peak. Even though Triple G is 8 years older at 35 years old, I still believe they're both in their peak. And despite Triple G not looking good in his last 2 fights, I still think we're getting 2 fighters in their peaks fighting at the right time. I mean, yes, I would have liked to have seen this fight a couple of years ago, but I'm happy that it's now. What's your thoughts on the whole picture real quick?
I think it's a perfect picture. And you know what? It could have been held a year or 2 ago. And as I suggested, and you also said many times, that if it was, I wouldn't have any question. I think Triple G would have not easily, but I think it would have been an easy statement to say that he would have won this fight had it been a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I think now it might be a 50-50 fight, but these guys have great resumes. They're experienced. They're mature. And I think they're going to put on a hell of a performance. I think they're going to fight with their hearts, their mind, their bodies, their souls. This is going to be a throwback to one of the earlier fights of like a Hagler, Hearns, or that mentality, that mindset of the middleweight classic. You're going to see both fighters coming out there, and they're going to both want to win. They're going to both be looking to land bombs, but I think also they're going to be able to assess each other and size each other up. And I think it's going to be a fight that's going to be defined from probably the 5th round on as far as who's going to be dominant and who's going to be going on to a victory either by stoppage or by a decision.
Yeah, either way, I think that we are going to get two fights out of this, because when you look at Triple G, now remember, Triple G got the shaft when it comes to being the A-side fighter, et cetera, et cetera. Canelo had the bargaining power, and I think that's fuel for the fire for Team Triple G. I think that they're going to utilize that. Sal, hold that thought, because I think it's an important one. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll finish up our thoughts on our quick preview of the big fight for next week, which neither one of us, Sal or myself, we can't wait for Triple G Canelo, even though we got some great fights scheduled for this weekend. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C Show. And I'm here with my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, before we went to break, I was mentioning that, Triple G had to basically concede a lot of stuff to make this fight happen, even though he's the guy. He's the main guy going into the fight. Do you think that that's going to help him in any way in terms of his mindset for his performance? I mean, because if and like I said, I'm sure there's rematch clauses here. all this fight has to be is you sound like Darth Vader, man. I mean, what do you got, a mask on? It just seems like this fight is going to happen. A rematch will happen either way, as long as it's an entertaining fight. If it's a boring fight, not so sure. What's your thoughts?
Well, of course. I mean, that's I see that this fight. I don't want to continue to elaborate on any of the knocks that Triple G has received, no pun intended, on his last two performances. Hey, he beat world-class opposition in a scenario that was built up to be a great opportunity for either fighter to do what they did. So I think he did what he had to do to win. They got a lot of things to do. And I think this fight, he is going to rise to the occasion. I think we're going to see the Triple G we all know is there, is capable, and is going to be evident. I also feel that with that being said, that he maybe had to make a few concessions in order to make this fight happen. I think that will feed into his defining moment as far as, hey, guess what? I'm going to prove to these guys who I really am. And if there's going to be a rematch, it's going to be predicated on a lot of what I want. Or a lot of what I say, and a lot of what my role is as the dominant fighter. So I think that's going to feed a little bit into his ego, and I think it's going to feed a little bit into his incentive to do what he's got to win. But they're both champions. They both have a heart of a champion. They both have the mindset and framework of a champion. And so we're going to see the best of the best. And this is what this kind of fight will do. It'll bring the best out of each other. To be, I think it's going to be such a great fight, and if I'm wrong, I want to hear it the next day.
It is the best against the best, and I do believe you're right. It will bring the best out of each of them. I think that Triple G, for his whole length of his career, has been waiting for this kind of an opportunity. Canelo has been involved with Golden Boy, has been marketed and presented as the next big name in boxing. Has been in exciting fights. I mean, there's no question that this guy's a draw. And Triple G has kind of been the odd man out. You had Pacquiao and you had Mayweather, and then you had the parallel between Pacquiao and Mayweather. And we've seen other fighters up and down. Canelo, big name, up and down. And you have Triple G. And the boxing diehard fans know Triple G. But a lot of people weren't giving him credit. No. This is the fight that he's been waiting for. This is the fight that erases any doubt. And even if you don't like Triple G or you don't want to give him credit, a win over Canelo, even if it was an ugly win or a squeaked win, credit has to be given. I personally believe that Triple G kind of has to be the best Triple G ever to beat Canelo. Not because Canelo's so good, but I really think that Triple G is not going to get a fair shake when it comes to the scorecards. So I do believe Triple G needs to win by knockout. And the thing is that you and I have talked about this many, many times. If we were talking about this fight a year and a half to 2 years ago, I wouldn't even be batting an eye. I'd be like, Triple G all the way. It's not going to be close. But Triple G, regardless of whether he was not into the fights or what have you, this is not the same fighter in his last two fights. It could be age catching him up. It could be the fact that, he was under the weather for his last several fights, which, you can't make excuses. It could be the fact that he was bored. Whatever it is, that can't be in play next weekend when he fights Canelo. And I think that a win over Canelo, especially a substantial win, a knockout win, catapults Triple G where he wants to be, even though he himself has said that a pound-for-pound status means nothing to him, and he says he loves to fight. I can't wait for this fight, Sal. I just can't wait, and I know we're going to get to see a rematch.
I think you are 100% correct, and it's funny, as you observed, we haven't heard any mention of what's going on in their camps as far as, usually by this time we would have heard, well, Triple G looks a little drawn, he looks a little pale, he looks a little pasty, he looks a little drawn out or overtrained. We haven't heard that, so that's great. And I think maybe sometimes that could have been a ploy. Who knows? Like I said, the media doesn't report the news. They help stimulate and create it. And, training camps will leak out what they want for whatever reason they want. And And as we suggested, I think just at this moment, this is a great fight for both their careers. And whoever wins, as we suggested, there's probably going to be a rematch clause. So I think we're going to be honored by seeing 2 fights out of this one. And but it's going to be something. I really see these guys rising to the occasion and doing well.
Great.
And I just have to say that, with the dominance, I can honestly say with the power, I don't know if Canelo Alvarez has ever been hit, or a punch that has ever landed on Canelo Alvarez would have ever have carried the thunderous momentum and blow that he will feel from Triple G. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. On the other hand, I could say that Triple G has been hit pretty hard by some good big punchers. And so I think the element of surprise as far as the power, once it does hit on Canelo, whether it's a body shot, a shot in the arm, or a head blow, I think Canelo is going to say, wow, okay, this is what I've been prepared for, and I'm ready to take, but this is a shot that I just took, and I could take the best, or wow, that hurt. So we'll see. I think that.
Well, the thing is that Canelo is a good body puncher. He himself has landed many hard body shots on his opponents. But I think it boils down to the same things I've been saying over and over and over. Number one, I think that Triple G is the best ring general in the sport of boxing. And I think he's the best ring general in the last 2 decades, 20 years. I think he's better than Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was able to, defensively control his fights, which obviously he's better defensively than Triple G. I'm not saying that Triple G is a better defensive fighter than Floyd. No way, because he's not.
No way.
He's never been hit. Triple G has been hit. But what I mean by ring general is that Triple G is able to control where his opponent goes. Floyd Mayweather let his opponents think that they were controlling him, and then he would be in position to counterpunch or avoid a punch or just run to the other side of the ring. Triple G, his ability to cut the ring off and anticipate where his opponent is going to try to go next is uncanny. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then when you add the fact that Canelo has that weakness that I have not seen him overcome, and only great fighters can even do it to begin with, but the ability to be able to punch effectively while on his toes, while moving, is something that that Canelo cannot do. And in order for him to land substantial punches that could hurt Triple G, he's got to be in front of Triple G. And that's where what you just said is going to come into play. Triple G's power and his ability to land accurate punches is going to be an area that Canelo has not been subjected to. Listen, on paper, and everything we know about these guys, this can't be anything but a classic fight. I would be shocked if Monday morning or even for the post-fight show that we're saying, oh my God, I can't believe it was a stinker. I can't believe it was boring. I can't believe that. I would be shocked if that's what we were talking about on the post-fight Saturday night, Sal.
Oh, come on. You were 100% correct. And I can't see that scenario in either way, shape, or form. You're not going to see either one of these fighters ever dog it. They're going to both want to seek each other out, so they're going to have a nice meeting in the middle. And you're going to see exchanges and combinations and slipping punches and blocking punches and landing punches. It's going to be, I'm not going to say it's like a rock'em sock'em robots. I think they're going to be a little more methodical, thought out, and be strategic. But I think it's going to be a fight that you and I will be talking on the post-fight saying, wow, we just saw a great fight. No matter who wins this fight, it was a great fight, and it deserves a rematch.
Yeah, well, I think they'll have a rematch, but the terms will be different. But on this day, September 8th, in boxing history, in 1950, Sandy Sadler knocks out Willie Pep in the 8th round to win the world featherweight title. That took place at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. What a couple of great names right there, Sandy Sadler and Willie Pep. On this day in 1924, Abe Goldstein, who was actually Abe Attell. That's something that we should have talked about yesterday. But Abe Attell wins a 15-round decision over Tommy Ryan to retain his world bantamweight title, and that took place in Queens, New York. In 1953, on this day, Harold Johnson wins a 10-round split decision over Ezra Charles to improve to 42-5 in a heavyweight fight that took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Charles drops to 81 wins, 10 losses, and a draw. Many people think Ezra Charles, they look at him as a heavyweight, but this was a guy that not only was a middleweight, but arguably one of the best light heavyweights ever to put on a pair of gloves. So anyway. And finally, on this day, September 8th, in 1973, Roberto Duran knocks out Guts Ishimasutu in the 10th round to retain his WBA World Lightweight title. That took place in Panama. Duran, he improved to 38 wins and a loss after this fight. He would go on to have a Hall of Fame career and finish with 103 wins, 70 by knockout, 16 losses, and absolutely no draws, which is pretty cool. But 70 knockouts. His number of knockouts far exceed most professional fighters' fights. So interesting stuff there. Sal, we have a great weekend of fights, so I'm looking forward to talking about them on Monday. And then don't forget, Monday we kick off Triple G Canelo week. I mean, as you could hear, Sal and I are already talking the last 25 minutes about the fight. Wait till next week. We'll be talking a lot about that, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, we're only going to be doing shows next week, Monday through Thursday, I believe. We are off on Friday, but Saturday we will be back with our post-fight show. So a little quick schedule note there. But, hey, enjoy the fights this weekend. And make sure that you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.